Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQIASEnglish. In our today's video, we'll try to understand why a 35-degree heat wave in Europe feels much more intense, feels much more worse as compared to a heat wave in India, which usually starts at around 45 degrees centigrade. Now, the reason why we have picked up this topic for our today's discussion is because of social media. Now, as you may all know, that Europe right now is experiencing an intense episode of heat waves. Now, because of that, there are many widespread debate which is ongoing in social media. For example, a post on Twitter, also called as Platform X, highlighted is 35 degrees of heat in Europe different than a 45 degrees of heat in India, and why is there so much hue and cry about it, especially at that time when many areas in India, especially in Rajasthan, their temperatures have gone above 48 degrees centigrade. Now you need to understand your ability to experience heat, it differs very significantly based on the fact where you are located at a given point of time. So on that note, we'll try to understand what are the factors that have contributed to heat waves in Europe, why Europeans for that matter are feeling this heat, and why isn't Europe built in a way in order to bear this heat. And then we'll try to compare how are Indians able to cope up with temperatures which are usually 10 or 12 degrees higher than the average temperatures in Europe. Now, the notes which I will be using for our today's session, you can also download them by going to a particular Telegram channel called as ETS Live. And while you're at it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel as well. So let us start first by understanding what is the reason behind this heat wave in Europe. Now you need to understand, during a normal time, a fast moving band of westerly winds called as a jet stream, it is responsible for pushing the weather systems constantly across the whole of Europe, and as a result the hot and cold spells, they do not stagnate and they continue to move around throughout the continent of Europe. Now, this phenomena of constant movement of the air bands have been disrupted because of a fact called as omega block, and this is why the temperatures in and around Europe has increased drastically over a span of 7 to 10 days in the past. So as I told you how a weather system normally works, a jet stream, which is a upper band movement of air, it transports the air, leading to the frequent movement of both high pressure and low pressure systems across the continent of Europe, and this very factor actually stagnates during the formation of omega block. So this year a large high pressure system has been sandwiched between the consequent two low pressure systems on the either side, and this has trapped the high pressure system in place, and as a result the weather system which was moving, it has completely stopped moving, and therefore the heat buildup for days and even weeks have been able to stagnate over the continental Europe. And this formation of a high pressure system, you can understand, belongs to the Greek symbol omega, and that is why it is called as an omega block. So this jet stream buckles into a shape resembling the Greek letter omega, therefore giving the name the omega wedge. Now this is the reason why heat waves have started in Europe. Now let us try to understand why are Europeans actually feeling this heat. Now the given temperatures that you experience in a particular geography depends on multiple factors. So let us try to understand why this 35 and 40 degree heat in Europe feels so intense, especially to the Europeans. Now the first reason behind it is your body's ability to dissipate heat, and you can understand this happens because your body is able to sweat, and the sweat is evaporating out of your body's surface. Now you need to understand the geography of Europe is very peculiar in this regard. Europe, it is located in very close vicinity to Atlantic and Mediterranean, and therefore the air which is flowing right now in the Europe has been pulled up the moisture from these nearby water bodies, and as the relative humidity present in the European air is higher, therefore whatever sweat that your body dissipates is not able to evaporate. As you can understand, it is the phenomenon of evaporation that generates cooling, and as you located in a drier setup like that of India, your body's ability to dissipate that sweat, your body's ability to evaporate that sweat results into you being able to bear much higher temperatures. Therefore, if you're located in a 40-degree heat which is present in a higher relative humidity air, it makes sweating much more difficult. It prevents the sweat from being dissipated on your body, and therefore your body faces intense heat, your body's ability to naturally cool itself impairs. So this is why a 40 or 35 degree heat in Europe, because of higher relative humidity, feels much more brutal as compared to a 45 degree drier heat that you experience in northwestern part of India, especially in the cases of states like Rajasthan. This is where your body sweats profusely, and this sweat evaporates efficiently, therefore letting you bear much more higher temperatures in comparison. So this is the first reason why heat in Europe feels much more brutal. Now the second reason is Europe's geography. Now the Europe's geography is located very close to the region of Arctic. Now you need to understand Arctic usually has the presence of large amount of snow, and because of that widespread presence of snow across the Arctic Circle, the ability of Arctic to reflect back the the sunlight is very higher, and this is because of a phenomena called as albedo effect. Now the albedo effect, it reflects the surface ability to reflect the sunlight back into the space. Now the Arctic ice, which is melting recently because of the phenomenon of global warming, it has exposed darker ocean waters which absorbs more heat than compared to ice, and therefore it has contributed to much more higher increase in global temperatures in Arctic as compared to the global average, and this phenomena is called as Arctic amplification. Arctic amplification means the increase in temperatures in Arctic is 2 to 4 times more than the global average, and this increase in temperature across Arctic has trickled down southwards, that is in Europe, and therefore Europe is warming more than twice than the global average, making it the fastest warming continent, and therefore the current rate of heat waves, it is generally several degrees higher than the heat waves that existed in Europe 50-60 years before. So this is the second reason why heat waves or Europeans are actually feeling the heat. Now let us try to understand why isn't Europe built in a way to handle this much heat. Now the first reason is the amount of daylight that Europe witnesses during a summer season. Now the main reason behind it, it's Earth's rotational axis, which is not perpendicular, rather it is tilted at 23.5 degrees. Now what happens that during the summer months, especially during March up till September, which peaks at summer solstice in June, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, and because of that the circle of illumination, it does not divide both dark and bright areas on the earth equally in the span of 12 hours each. Rather, what happens in Europe, that the daylights, which is located at higher altitude, spreads higher than 16 hours a day as compared to daylights in India, which usually last between 13 to 14 hours. So as a result, areas located in the upper half of Europe, that is the Western Europe, they are able to get daylights for longer duration of time, and the consequent availability of darker times is less. Therefore, the ability of the surfaces to cool, the amount of heat that it receives during the daytime, is less as compared to India. So this is the reason why Europeans or the Europe in general isn't built to handle this much of heat, because of larger insolation, presence of longer duration of daytime as compared to the tropical climates, that is India, which is located usually 12 to 30 degrees north of the equator. Now, what you need to understand, there are some behavioral factors also which prevents Europe from being able to handle this much heat. The first reason behind it is low air conditioning penetration. Now, in Europe, you need to understand air conditioning is not seen something as of necessity, rather it is seen something worth of luxury, and this is because of multiple factors. First of all, the average energy prices in Europe are higher as compared to other parts of the globe. Similarly, from the perspective of aesthetics, the Europeans do not want to install air conditioners because they would feel that it would ruin the aesthetics of their cities, and as a result there has been an environmental and municipal movement which discourages you from owning your personal air conditioning, and this is against many other countries such as US, or for that matter even in India, where penetration and availability of AC, especially in urban areas, are relatively higher as compared to Europe. So the Europeans face intense heat during summer months, and they do not have the option to switch on the air conditioners which we usually have. On the other hand, the building design of Europe is designed in such a way to retain as much heat as possible indoors. Now, the biggest problem that Western Europe region especially face is the intense amount of the winter waves or the cold waves that they experience during the winter months. So the built infrastructure of Europe, that is having thick insulation, smaller double glazed windows, limited shading as well as dark roofing, all of them are optimized in a way in order to retain as much heat as possible inside the indoor areas. And this proves to be much more deadly when the outside temperature increases, and as a result the heat which transmits inside is not able to dissipate as quickly as it should have. So this is the reason low penetration of air conditioner and the ability of the built infrastructure to retain the heat has what has contributed to make this episode of heat wave so much deadly for the Europe. Right now, there is one more factor that you need to understand. Now, this intense wave of heat wave has disrupted infrastructure which is not first of all designed to handle this much load. Now, each and every tropical country, their power systems are designed which is according to the fact that the demand of power would be much more during summer months as compared to the winter months. But the power systems of Europe are designed exactly opposite. They require much more heating during the winter months, and therefore their power requirement is not as high as compared to tropical areas. And therefore, facing this much heat wave, their power systems have collapsed, their schools have been ordered to close, and public transport systems have been interrupted. And this has contributed to much higher deaths as the Europe is not able to handle this much heat. For example, one of the few instances of deaths have happened because people have drowned as a result of unsupervised bathing in the water bodies. Right now, let us try to understand why is India able to handle much more heat as compared to Europe. And this is because of some behavioral, some infrastructural, and some geographical habits that we are accustomed to. Now, traditional Indian construction, you'd see, are characterized by the fact that we have thick masonry walls, higher ceilings, we have small deep set windows, courtyards, jali screens, verandas, as well as slope roofs. Why do you think this kind of an architecture is much more famous in India? This is because this kind of an architecture is designed explicitly to keep our interiors, our indoors cooled. And this is exactly opposite of what European homes and European buildings are designed for. As I told you, European homes and buildings are designed to retain as much heat as possible, and our homes are designed to dissipate as much heat as possible. In addition to that, in our urban areas mostly, you'd see these days AC is not seen as something of luxury, it is seen as something of necessity. And this is because of the fact that due to urban heat island effect, our urban area temperatures go well beyond 40 degrees centigrade. And this, in addition to near universal adoptance and reliance on ceiling fans, cooling systems like coolers, and government mandated cooling shelters, which has allowed people to bear this heat in a much more better manner as compared to what has been there in Europe. In addition to that, you also need to understand that the lifestyle that we live during the summer months are designed to handle the intense amount of heat. For example, you would see there are instances, especially in states like Gujarat, where afternoon breaks are very common. Similarly, the school and market hours, they shift in order to prevent people from being outdoors during the intense time of afternoon. There is habit of people who wear loose breathable cotton clothing. Hydration focused diets, our diets are filled with buttermilk, sattu, tender coconut, and all of this provides you a cooling effect, right? In addition to that, there is a normalization of the fact that during peak heat hours, you'd see as less as outdoor movement among people as possible. And there is an institutional memory also. For example, India's heat action plans, early warning systems, they exist specifically for the fact that extreme heat has been a norm and anticipated seasonal event for decades. Now compare that to Europe. For us, heat is something that we are used to. Heat is something that we will face each and every summer much more intensively. But in Europe, this instance of heat wave is not, it's episodic, and therefore their administration are not very planned or not very accompanied or equipped to deal with this much amount of heat stress. So therefore the planning of policymakers in Europe, it is in very nascent stage, it's reactive, rather than, on the other hand, Indian policymakers are much more proactive in that regard. So this is the reason why a 35 or 40 degree of heat wave in Europe feels much more brutal, and this is because of a combination of geography, behavioral factors, as well as cultural adoption of heat. On the other hand, in India, heat has been a norm. During the months of summer, we see intense wave of degrees which go well beyond 45 degrees centigrade, and as a result, our infrastructure, our power systems, our ability to live the life, as well as institutional memory, all of them make us more accustomed to feel the heat. I guess this is the entire explanation that you need why heat waves across Europe is making the news across the globe, right? Now, before we solve a practice question, you need to understand right now we are in a process of taking admissions to a P2I foundation batches. One of these batches, which has started for both morning classes in English language, closes today, that is 30th of June. To take admissions to these classes, what you can do is go to that website, select English UPSC courses, and before making the payment, if you select the code ATS Live, you're going to get maximum discounts. Please understand, right now, by default, you are getting 50% off and double validity on all the courses. But to make this deal sweeter, if you add this code ATS Live, you're going to get even more discounts. Now, the benefits of our P2I foundation courses are many. For example, these classes are offered in smart mode, where you will be offered a structured classes with mentorship, which helps you assess, revise, and give tests in multiple different iterations. And this is what you'd get if you take a course in StudyIQ courses. And StudyIQ also has the ability to offer courses which are given exclusively in English language. So students from the northeastern part of our country, from eastern states, even from the southern states, who are not very well comfortable with Hindi, take these batches. In these batches, conversations, pedagogy, everything happens exclusively in English language. Okay, so this is all from my side for today. Before ending today's video, I'd want you all to solve this question, which is very similar to the question that appeared in 2015. There is a scenario given, and please tell me this description which is given in the question suits which kind of a climatic condition. Okay, so this is all from my side for today. Please have a very good day, and the notes, if you're waiting to download them, these will be available on this particular Telegram channel called as ATS Live. So this is all from my side for today. Please have a very good day and wish you a very good night.